I'm Troy Kirby with a quick look at the 2022 Washington State legislative session. Prior to closing the 2022 Washington State legislative session, the Senate passed Engrossed Second Substitute House Bill 1736, which establishes a state student loan program. Originally passed by the House 5939, the Senate passed their version of the bill with several amendments on March 4th by a vote of 27-21. The House refused to concur with the Senate's amendments, then asked the Senate to recede from those amendments. The Senate did so, passing the bill 27-21. The House then concurred with the Senate, sending the bill to the governor's office for an opportunity to be signed into law.
As I've said before, Washington State has, I would argue, the best financial aid system in our country. We spent over $1 billion a biennium on the various forms of financial aid to our students across the state. What this amendment recognizes that the proposal in the striking amendment does very little to help our students across the state. It's highly likely that it will be found financially infeasible, and the difference in the interest rate helps very little people. For the exact same amount of money, Mr. President, we can invest in a reduction in our tuition at our state universities, our regional universities, Evergreen State College, and the applied baccalaureate programs. For the exact same money, we can help students across the state.
The underlying striking amendment takes the development of a potential student loan program, low interest student loan program, into account and makes sure that we're doing the analysis that we need to do to make it work. I want to tell you, Mr. President, that it's not just about tuition when students are going to college. There's rent, there's food, there's travel. There are a lot of expenses.
It's plain mathematics, Mr. President. If we lower tuition for students across the state, that means the money they would have spent on tuition they can use on rent, on food, on gasoline that we know, Mr. President, are increasing every day. We have a new announcement today that once again our inflation across the country has risen and Washington is still higher than the national average.
I just want to comment on the inflation argument. I mean, with inflation going bonkers and our state having a higher inflation rate than the national average, and the national average being at a 40-year high, I mean, if we can reduce the cost of tuition, we're better off.
We have the potential for somebody to enter into this loan program, perhaps get called up for extensive active duty, perhaps lose a spot in college when he comes back, he or she comes back, wind up with the debt, but without the ability to continue his education. Now,
this eliminates the possibility of graduate students accessing this program, and I'll tell you why this makes sense. We started out at $300 million initial funding in this, and then added about $34 million the following single year, and about $69 million each biennium afterwards that fully funded the program. The problem is it got a heck of a haircut in ways, and now it's down to about $150 million we're talking about. We have tried so hard to add apprenticeships and align the trades out there as part of the CTC program, along with the undergraduate students out there that are the ones really that are majority where students end up graduating from and going into the workforce, that's going to be a huge part of the money. If we're going to invest the money in students and subsidize it, I think that's where we need to focus with the limited amount of money that we have.
You know, we are silent on what kind of students should be eligible for this, and the work over the next year I think will help determine the appropriate way to allocate the resources. But Mr. President, we've had debates this session on the importance of student loan forgiveness, for example, for social workers and healthcare workers and teachers, people in the medical profession. So I wouldn't want to rule folks out who are working hard to get their master's or even a medical degree, because the state benefits from their graduate programs too.
Thank you for watching the 2022 Washington State legislative session.